This episode of Daredevil Born Again is honestly a highlight reel to just how awesome Bullseye is, and it's exactly what I needed. So come talk nerdy with me about Season 2, Episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. Spoilers ahead. This episode starts in the most perfect way ever with everyone's favorite, lovable, random object-throwing psychopath, Bullseye. You know, we have this really nice setup of him having a nutritious breakfast and helping his neighbor and going on a nice friendly walk to his local diner. He's totally not going to do anything crazy there, right? Well, we wouldn't love him if he didn't, because we soon realize that Bullseye's only going to this diner just so he can use some task force members as target practice. But I love the setup to this trap because he immediately starts looking around the diner like, all right, what kind of random thing can I throw at these guys today? He's looking at forks, spoons, toothpicks. There's a lobster in there. I didn't know diners had live lobsters like that. And then he makes that phone call saying, oh, Frank Castle's here and uh-oh, he's got a gun. And I just love how monotone his voice is during the call. Like, you'd think the dispatcher would be like, dude, are you even serious right now? But while he's waiting on the task force, he orders a banana milkshake, which I didn't know was a flavor of a milkshake. It looked delicious though, and now I'm totally hankering for one. But I just couldn't help but start cracking up. And as soon as Bullseye starts hearing the sirens of the task force showing up, and he's just like, all right, and just starts putting on his gloves. That's like the equivalent of someone taking off their earrings before a fight. Like, you just know something crazy is about to happen. And when the fight between him and the task force actually starts, I can't help but just melt in geekiness for just how awesome it looks. I love seeing Bullseye just throwing random crap at people and ricocheting it off walls and just hitting them in crazy places. Like, it's so entertaining to me. I could watch fight scenes with him for hours. I'm serious. If there was a Bullseye movie and it was just 3 hours of him throwing random crap at people, I would buy those tickets today. Like, how can you watch this fight and not think this is one of the coolest things we've gotten in the MCU? And seeing him do stuff like this kind of makes me wonder, is he better than Hawkeye? Maybe not in the comics, but in the MCU, he might be. And on top of that, it was the task force getting messed up instead of innocent civilians, so this was much more enjoyable to watch. We are here for task force punishment. My only issue with this scene, and it caused me like so much panic, was when he turned towards the dog and was like,
dogs in restaurants are unsanitary.
Which, one, yes it is, but two, I was like, oh dear God, please don't let him unalive this dog. If you know anything about me, you know that I absolutely love dogs, and I don't care how cool Bullseye is. If he was to hurt that puppy, I would instantly hate him. All his coolness would have gone away from me. But thankfully, he didn't. So he's still in my good graces. And I also loved just how creepy it was when the dude with the dog was just like, please don't kill me. And Bullseye's just like,
oh, don't worry, I'm one of the good guys.
I can picture that guy just saying,
are you sure?
dude, you just did a complete massacre in this diner and you have a big smile on your face. I don't know how to perceive you. And a beautiful finishing touch of this scene is Bullseye putting his logo on the door before he left. Like, mwah, just, that's perfect. Bullseye being in this series was definitely worth a foggy. But let me know in the comments, what did you think of this opening scene with Bullseye? And where is Bullseye on your MCU villain list? But despite how cool that opening scene was, and even though it was against Fisk and his task force, Bullseye's actions are still going to make Daredevil's life much harder. Especially now, since Daredevil's really starting to solidify his power against Mayor Fisk. We cut to Daredevil and Karen's hideout, where we see Daredevil's resistance starting to get some backbone. We see the swordsman offering financial support for Daredevil's resistance, because, you know, he's getting old. He doesn't really want to do the superhero stuff, even though we absolutely want to see him do it. But he basically gives Daredevil a debit card with access to the swordsman's abundance of wealth to use however he sees fit. And I was like, dang, I wish I knew a rich person that would just give me their debit card so I can buy whatever I want. Okay, I was just informed that that's called a sugar parent, and my wife would definitely not approve of me having one. Another aspect of this growing resistance that we get to see is Angela, aka the new White Tiger. And essentially, she's out there running the streets, getting information, and passing secret messages to potential allies. And I legit started geeking out when he called Angela over and was basically indoctrinating her into the superhero life. Like, all right, girl, are you about it? And I was like, oh my God, is he gonna start training her? And then is she gonna get her own White Tiger suit? Like, ugh. I'm so excited for that. But probably the biggest boost to the resistance was the first mate of the Northern Star showing up and giving Daredevil all the information about what was on that ship and what it had to do with Mayor Fisk. And at the moment, things are looking pretty good for Daredevil and his resistance. That is until all of the shenanigans that Bullseye is pulling starts getting noticed. But we'll talk later on about why Bullseye's shenanigans are a major problem. But first, we gotta talk about Fisk. Because when we see Fisk in this episode, you may notice that he's slowly losing his grip on the city. Like ever since Daredevil rescued all those prisoners from Red Hook, his jimmies are rustled. And as the episode progresses, we start to see more of the Kingpin persona peek out at Fisk. So he's less evil politician and more just ruthless, violent gangster. One point in the episode where you really notice this shift is when Fisk meets with Mr. Charles. And Mr. Charles is basically threatening Fisk about not meeting their agreement about shipping weapons out from Red Hook. And in response, Fisk has Buck murder 2 of Mr. Charles's goons. Like Fisk was no longer playing that compromising politician character. Like he let that Kingpin out and was like, hey, don't you threaten me. And Mr. Charles, for the first time in the series, looked a little rattled, like, oh, actually, I don't think we'll be able to control this guy. And so far in the series, we see that anytime Fisk starts to act a bit more like the Kingpin, he at least has Vanessa nearby to keep him grounded, to keep him from letting all that evil out, or at least the worser evil out. And this is confirmed when Vanessa goes to the Capitol to meet the governor and try to get their support for all Wilson Fisk's policies. Because a condition for the governor's support of Fisk is that Vanessa has to be involved to keep Wilson in line. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called foreshadowing. Back in New York City, Daredevil is hunting down Bullseye because he's got to put those shenanigans of his to bed. And as always, the two of them have just a beautiful superhero fight. It's always a 10 out of 10 between these two, especially with how much Daredevil hates Bullseye. Like that's probably the one villain other than Fisk that Daredevil has considered taking their life. But there's an interesting moment in the fight when Bullseye takes his neighbor hostage and he tries talking to Daredevil and telling him that he feels remorse for the bad things that he's done and he wants to make up for it by doing an act of good. But the only thing Bullseye knows how to do is taking people's lives, but he thinks in his own twisted way that taking the lives of Wilson Fisk and his wife will make everything good. And it's sad in a way because Bullseye is obviously still very evil, like he's holding his neighbor hostage like right now. But at the same time, when you hear him talking, you can hear like the genuine pain in his voice. Like he truly believes that he is doing good, like he's going to become a good person. And that hurts. And I'm like, oh, you poor mentally sick baby. I kind of wanted to give him a hug. But he'd probably throw a shoe at me and I'd be dead, so I won't do that. Daredevil, however, does not feel for Bullseye and just goes after him, which leads to Bullseye escaping and heading towards that boxing match that Wilson Fisk is setting up. Now here's the point of the episode where Bullseye's shenanigans doesn't just make Daredevil's life, but everyone's life much harder. So we're at the boxing match between Fisk and this professional boxer, and Wilson Fisk's Kingpin side is starting to come out. Like he is enjoying ruthlessly beating this man to a bloody pulp. It's kind of disgusting. But while Fisk is basically torturing this dude, Vanessa walks in and Fisk immediately just calms down. He does still end up nearly killing the guy though, I'm pretty sure he does, but it's a more controlled Fisk doing it. And an interesting thing about that moment is that half of the crowd is all for it, still super supportive of Fisk, but the other half was definitely not about it. And that's probably where we're going to start seeing more resistance from the public against Fisk. But after the fight's over and Fisk and Vanessa are celebrating in the ring, Bullseye comes in with all that shenanigans and just starts throwing random things at people again. But Bullseye's causing chaos and he's throwing stuff at Kingpin, trying to get Vanessa, and at one point he grabs that glass trophy that Daniel had and he throws it at Fisk and Fisk shatters it, Remember that part. So Bullseye is in a tough predicament, he's getting shot up, and at one point it looks like Fisk is gonna be the one that shoots Bullseye in the head, like he's gonna take him out. But then Daredevil comes in and stops them from killing each other, and him and Bullseye escape from the boxing match together. Which in my opinion, I don't think Daredevil should have done that. Like, I understand Daredevil not wanting Wilson Fisk to get killed and then become a martyr, but like, Fisk and Bullseye are two of your biggest enemies and they're trying to take each other out. Maybe just let them. Either one of these dudes being taken out would make Daredevil's life significantly easier. Like, he honestly should have adopted the Christopher Nolan Batman method.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
But hey, I'm just a guy in the real world. Daredevil's not gonna listen to me. But Alex, you said Bullseye's shenanigans were gonna cause major problems. What's the major problem? Well, you remember that glass trophy that Bullseye threw at Fisk? Well, when Fisk shattered the trophy, a shard of the glass went into Vanessa's head. Ouch. And she was losing a lot of blood. Like, it's unclear on whether she's dead or not, but she's gonna be gone for a while. And with Vanessa being dead, or at the very least hurt, she's not gonna be around to keep Wilson Fisk from going full Kingpin mode. And without Vanessa in the picture, the governor is gonna pull her support of New York City. So Wilson Fisk is gonna feel so angry and desperate that he's about to do insane things. Because without Vanessa, Wilson Fisk is gone. There's only the Kingpin. But I want to hear from you. What did you think of episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you missed my previous video discussing episodes 2 and 3, go ahead and click on the box right here. And I'll see you in a bit.